This episode is a beautiful unfolding about plant medicine with Birdie, a teacher, a guide, and advocate for alternative healing modalities. We talk about her journey into plant medicine and the transformational experiences she has had, and that has led her to create expansive journeys for other people. If you are new here, you're listening to the How We Get Thru podcast, a place for you to feel connected through deep and meaningful conversations with healers from all over the world. I'm your host, Jen, a licensed therapist and founder and CEO of the How We Get Thru app. And my mission is to bring you affordable and diverse therapy resources to help you get through the hard stuff, all in one place and at your own pace. Welcome to the How We Get Thru community. Hello and welcome back to the How We Get Thru podcast. We had some technical difficulties as we always do, but we are here with Birdie, who is a guide, a teacher to all the alternative healing therapies, which I'm so excited to dive in with you today. Birdie, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And I think I've told you before, but my family nickname is Birdie. So
yeah, you did mention that.
Yes. So I have affinity already for you and a connection. So I'm so excited.
I love that so much. Where did you get that nickname?
I have no idea.
It just came.
Yes. We're a very nickname family. So It's almost like in times, like for 5 years, you're Birdie, and then maybe sometimes it comes back and then it like transitions into something else, like Birdis. Like it was just like, it's very interesting. Yeah.
Isn't it beautiful though? Like how names are given, and like it's somebody else sees that in you to be like, I'm gonna start calling you Bird. Or that's what happened to me. My best friend was just like, I got to give you a different name and we're going to start calling you Birds. And it kind of just, evolved from there. And it's much more fitting with my life now. So,
yeah. Oh, I love it. I also think because I have 2 children, I also think it's weird that I named them. And do they even like that name? Do they, you know what I mean? It's like, but as an adult, like it sounds like somebody gave you a name and then you got to like try it on, and say like, I like that. This feels like me.
I know it's interesting. Have you ever asked your kids if they like their name?
Well, my daughter's name is Frankie, and it's a very masculine name. She was named after my grandpa, and sometimes she's like, I want to be called like Isabel, like very feminine name. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah.
And my son's name, we named him Theo, but we call him Teddy. And if you try to call him Theo, he's like, I'm not Theo, I'm Teddy, so
Teddy only, please.
Yes. So it is like this interesting, it kind of shifts and changes for them too. But it feels like it's a little bit too much power sometimes. I'm like, this is your name. But I'm like, do you want that?
Yeah, what do you want? I mean, right? That's where we should all begin. What do you want? And then being kind of like curious to what's in their heart. I mean, I don't have children, but like every time I'm around children, I'm like, they are just like these infinite little like wisdom pods. I don't know. They just they're filled with so much pureness and
mirroring.
Yeah. It's just like, whoa. I remember when I was that young, and I don't know, you just have this like zest for life, and I feel like they can teach us so much, and like we kind of forget, we grow up and we adult real hard, and then we're like, oh yeah, like play is important, like my mental health, my emotional well-being, and like just going after what I want is also really important,
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. And is that how you started your spiritual journey? Like, where can you take us back? Like, did it start with Birdie? Did that feel like
that was a huge part of it? Like the name. I just got goosebumps.
Wow.
Whoa, I've had goosebumps everywhere. Wow. Yeah, actually, it's so funny we're talking about names because my name changed back in 2013. My original name is Ashley, and I love her, and she still holds a very special place in my heart. I have a lot of people that still know me as Ashley, and but yeah, I was going through a huge transition in my life and kind of just leaving the church. I moved across the
Uh,
country with my best friend, and there were just a lot of layers and a lot of things happening in my life. And the name, for some reason, like it wasn't giving me peace. And it's so
uh,
interesting to be able to to know in your life what's not giving you peace and what's not working. And it's just like, okay, well, what is working, you know? And people are going to think me I'm really weird for changing my name.
uh,
I don't care.
yeah,
Like, you
let
know,
them.
let
Uh-huh.
them.
Well,
And so, yeah, I mean, I think for me, because I was having like a straight up identity crisis of like who I was, the fact that a dear friend of mine was able to give me a name, and it
this,
it put me back in my body. It was just like, wow, what does it feel like to introduce myself as this person? Because I no longer
uh,
feel like that person, you know? And
uh,
yeah, it was almost like this
wow.
initiation of like, all right, this is who you are and move forth. Keep going, you
Yes.
know? And
Yeah.
I've only felt like more drawn to that, since I did change my name. So
Uh, so from you left the church, did you have to do a lot of deconstruction around that, or how did that kind of morph into a different or more
yeah,
spirituality?
I mean, it's hard. It's the deconstruction around like religion, because it is a spiritual practice, right? You do have like
Uh,
the spiritual connection to God. And I grew up in a very like Christian Baptist home, and there were like strict rules around things, what you can, what you can't do, what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. Like you feel, at least I feel, I'll speak for myself, I just felt like I was trapped. Like
uh,
and more so the experience of like shame and guilt when I did something that like wasn't okay. Um and it was only not okay because I got told it wasn't okay. It was
uh,
never like I had that personal conversation with myself as like, is this okay or is it not? And so when I started listening to like the intuitive nature of me, like who I
uh,
am, it's like, okay, well, what's there? Like what's underneath all of this? And yeah, you just kind of, I mean, like for me, I had to move. So I changed my
uh,
name and I moved. I was like, I got to
yeah,
get out of
gotta
this.
get out.
I got to
Yeah.
get out. I need like a deep cleaning. So like, let's
Yes.
go. And
Where did you move from?
so originally I lived a lot of my life in Saudi Arabia, and then
Oh,
I moved
wow.
to Florida where I did most of like my middle school, like high school and education. And
Uh,
then I don't know, somewhere around, oh, I don't even know what time it is right now. I'm like 34. I'm like, what
yeah.
year was it? Somewhere around like 2012 or 13. I was like, I got to get out of Florida. Like there's
Uh,
something else and I'm missing it. Because you get in these
uh,
little bubbles and these little containers.
yeah.
And then when you start, I like to travel and like see the world. And so when you start putting yourself in different cultures and around different people, and you're like, wow, this is what it's like out here. And even just in the States,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, cultures are different in the States too. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was such a journey to try new things and to explore and to be like, okay, I'm not gonna be like hard on myself for the
Mm,
exploration of
uh,
this life, and
yeah.
yeah.
I love that. There's a lot of the word like brave comes up, like, and like courageous to keep choosing the joy of exploration and versus like the fear or the criticism around that. Like it's such a beautiful reframe of, and it might not have felt like that. It might have felt like, oh well, this is it. Like I'm just doing it, because it's just like a part of you.
Yeah. Hmm. Totally. Yeah, I think the fear of it all, I mean, that's the biggest part. It's like if you're going to choose to do something different or something that feels like out of the norm of like what you know. I mean, you always are going
Yeah.
to have that fear of like judgment of like, oh my God, what are people going to think of me? That's actually been coming up a lot for me in the last like month. It's like just touching on that of like, what is it
What
like to like really let go of what other people's perceptions of you are, you know?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
how we show up or how we want to be perceived, especially in showing up in
Mhm.
these kind of spaces.
Yeah.
Instagram, all the things like, and like I'm even guilty of it, it's just like, well, how do I want my life to look? And how do people
Uh,
really perceive me? But like,
yeah.
what is it really like when you're like, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
like people are they're gonna think what they need to think or what they want to think. And
Uh,
the ultimate, I think, like the freedom in your body when you're just like, okay, like let it be,
yeah.
what is for me is for
Uh,
me, and what is it isn't. So,
yeah. Do you think that's an old church wound of like the perception piece?
100%, 100%. I've been dealing with like, I mean, just to get so transparent, it's just like, yeah, the desire to want to people please and be liked. That is something that I've always struggled with. Like, oh, just like I want to people please you. I want to make sure you've got all the things, and even just like being liked as a person. It's definitely a church wound, right? It's like
Mhm.
you show up and it's like you need to be this, and this, like perfect.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
if you're not, secrets are going to go around the church and people are going to start talking.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. And then you just spiral down into shame. And so, yeah, I mean, the courage to be disliked because you're standing
Mhm.
up for who you are, who you innately are. And that's been a life lesson for me, and
Yeah.
so many things have helped me kind of just reframe my mind around that,
Mhm.
let go of this perfectionism.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's ultimate like freedom, if when you choose yourself, when you choose to be you. And that's scary for like religious circles. That's scary for the collective of that, and so it's another brave choice
Yeah.
to honor
Mm.
yourself. Um, and I also again hear the fear. We're like in Mercury retrograde.
Exactly.
That's it. Yeah. Thank you. Prove my
Exactly.
point.
Yep.
But it's all these like
Mhm.
past things like coming back up for review, and so it's almost like this different layer. We were talking before, like my anger is like at an all-time high right now, and it's just like there's a deeper layer. It's like, God, I thought I cleared this, and then it's like coming back full force and just really asking you to sit with it, and it's like, here,
And it's just like,
again,
why
but we
again?
different. Yeah,
Here's the lesson again. It's just like dressed up a little
yeah,
differently, Yeah.
yes, yeah.
And what's it like to just
It's
like
like,
sit in that rage too and sit in that anger,
ugh,
Like
it's
sometimes
gross.
sometimes it is gross. Sometimes you're just like, why? But like, I mean, do you think that we need to channel anger and rage sometimes because it is a part of us and it is a part of our nature? Like, I mean, I'd imagine they're just like healthy ways to learn how to just like channel that rage and that
Yeah.
anger and get it out because it's got to
Yes.
go somewhere.
Correct. And I have not figured that out yet, but but I know there's like the whole like female rage, like vibe happening right now. I mean, I love it. I think where my rage creeps out is in my family, and it's very
Um,
secret. It's not like towards movements, It's like
yeah,
feeling out of control in myself and among other things, which I can't really connect to right now. So, but it is such a part of me, right? And so again, it's like, how do I not cut off this piece because it is full force saying, hey, there's something here, there's something here.
yeah.
Um, so it's just interesting because I don't really connect to the feeling of like or what people are saying about me.
Man.
But I connect to this like my wound right now. This like rage piece. But it is like, how do you come back to peace within yourself, acceptance of yourself? Because they can maybe both like lead to shame in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, they can. I mean, it's kind of just like dealing with all of our stuff and knowing that we have it, like it's still there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just knowing that like it's just a part of life, you know? I think
Yeah.
what's beautiful, I think, about it, like even though we might see it as like a negative about ourselves, at the same time, it's like, well, thank you. Thank God that I have this awareness of myself that I can just call it out and name it. And maybe that is like the fire, you know, that's like the healthy fire, being able to just like call it and name it as it is. And then like giving it away to the fire. I mean, that's what, like, I think of anger and I think of rage and all that thing. And I think of the element of like fire, you know, when fire is controlled, it's one of the most beautiful things. People gather around the fire. They want to be in community around the fire. It helps people open up, you know, when there's a fire in the center.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, a lot of native communities and indigenous people, like for centuries, have always been saying, you know, you just like give it to the fire and you let it take it up. And that's like the gift. It's the gift of fire, and knowing that we don't have to like hold it in.
Yeah.
And there's beauty when it is a controlled fire instead of just letting it like flame up everywhere, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. That's really helpful for me right now in this moment. Like getting teary as you're talking. And like, how do I manage the shame of like when it feels so out of control? And like where can I use it for good? I'm even getting hot right now. I'm like, as we're talking about it, which usually happens to me in a lot of whatever transmuting energy. Because I'm getting angry. It's just this like release of energy that happens a lot. And again, we're at Lionsgate, Mercury retrograde, I'm just like, what? It's just feels so intense. And I think it's hard when things are so intense to get that like grounding and that reframe. So I really appreciate that, what you just did for me right now.
Oh, thanks.
So thank you.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Okay, girl, tell me about, so we went from Ashley to Birdie, and then just like, give me like little timeline bits of your spirituality, spiritual practice. I would love to talk about plant medicine. Like, how did you get from there, where we left off, to where you are now?
Yeah. Well, I took a whole bunch of mushrooms first.
Yes. As you do.
That was like, what, like, I remember in 2013, when I literally was moving across the country, my first experience with mushrooms was recreationally. And it was one of the best. It was one of the most memorable memories for me in my life. Because I spent the whole entire time laughing with my best friend, talking to the crowd. You know, I mean, it was healing in so many ways that it's really hard to express, like the healing modality of just doing it recreationally with a friend that you just love so dearly. And it does it. Your mind just opens. It's like a fast way to get into like the subconscious mind. You're like, whoa, didn't know that was there, but that's there.
Yeah.
So that was like a little like snippet part of it. My first intro to any sort of plant medicines, any sort of entheogenic plants, was my experience with psilocybin. And I didn't experiment with it a lot in that like first, after I did like my first initial experience with it, and I just like let it go. And when I moved over to the West Coast, I started doing a lot of yoga and I needed something. I needed somebody really to just tell me that I'm okay. And
Yeah. Mm.
there was a class in Bend that I went to, and I remember like clear as day the teacher. I remember the studio, the lighting, like all the things,
Mm.
and just the message she shared of just what it's like to love yourself, you know?
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, this is why people go to yoga. This is like they don't go for all the handstands and all the things. They go because then they kind of realize like, okay, this is what it's
Yeah.
like to completely like love yourself again.
Mm.
And so yeah, like it was that yoga really like changed my life through everything. And then I remember in that just like moment being like, this is what I'm gonna do with my life. Like
Mm.
I don't know. Yoga is gonna be a part of my life forever. I don't know if I'm gonna teach, but like this is the journey that I'm gonna like partake on for
Mm.
for the rest of my life. And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean the journey to becoming a teacher was a spontaneous one.
Mhm.
It wasn't like I had planned. I didn't like meet teachers that I knew or anything like that. I was just like, okay, like this is what I'm gonna go do, and I'm gonna get my teacher certification and all the things. And that was like back in 2015. And
Wow.
so, yeah, it's just been. I think being a teacher has really like taught me a lot of things. Like
Mhm.
it's kind of just given me, I don't know, like the baseline of just like feeling into my body. And
Mhm.
I really believe that like you can't, I don't know, you can't teach what you don't know, right? Like
Yeah.
it's so hard to teach what you don't know. And I think more than anything, like I know me like showing up for like my students and being there and being present with them, I'm gonna like get just as much out of that. And I feel
Mhm.
like I've learned so much from my students over the
Mm.
last like 9 years that it's just like really changed my life to be able to be
Yeah.
in a place of teaching, but also like, oh yeah, like I'm sharing what I know, but you're also sharing what you know with me.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, like I just first I just love creating like really safe spaces also. There's something about watching and witnessing people be come into a space and they're frazzled
Mm.
or sad or just like you can feel the brokenness sometimes in people. Like you
Yeah.
really can. At least I
Mhm.
can.
Mhm.
I feel like it doesn't take me very long to feel someone's energy and kind of where they're at. I just like
Mhm.
pick up on it.
Yeah. What a
And
gift.
it to be able to be in a room and just like watch walls come down with people in so many
Mhm.
scenarios. I think that's one of like the biggest gifts of teaching and being a guide, and you know why I like, just to kind of pivot a little bit, why I started working with like plant medicine and being in that space is because I was thinking about, okay, what are the modalities and everything that has helped me get from
Mhm.
point A to point B to point C, to know that like I'm not alone in this life and that there is more.
Mm.
And over and over and over, the answers has always been meditation,
Mhm.
being out in nature. Like that's like my safe haven,
Yeah.
yoga,
Mhm. Mhm.
and plants, right? So,
Mhm.
and I'm not even just talking about entheogenic plants. Like plants all have spirits, and
Mhm.
you can sit down and meditate with just like a coffee bean plant and get a lot out of it. So,
Tell me
yeah.
more about that.
Yeah, okay. I took like a plant spirit like little
Oh,
class. It was a small
yeah.
one, a few, I don't know, like 7, 8 years ago. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad you asked about that, because I had a coffee plant that was like dying in my home. It was just like
Mhm.
not living. And I'm just like, why? Like, what's wrong with
Yes.
you? Like, I feel like I'm doing everything right for you. Like, what's wrong? And I remember in this plant spirit class, the teacher was just like, yeah, you have the ability to just like talk to these plants, meditate, see what's up. And I wasn't thinking about the coffee plant when we initially had this class, but she came to me. She came to me in a dream. And yeah, I know.
Wait, the teacher or the coffee plant?
The coffee plant
Oh
came to
my
me in a dream.
gosh.
And it was just like, you need to have a chat with me, basically. Like, you need to like sit with me. You need to talk to me.
Yeah.
And because there's reasons why I'm not doing well. And so I remember just like meditating with this coffee bean plant and just being like, okay, what do you need? Okay, you need to move to a different window. That's what you need. You need more humidity. Like, and like, people think it's humid in Portland, but I'm like, I used to live in Florida. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is not
Yeah.
not humid. Because my hair looks great on most days. So I'm like, this is not
Yeah.
humid. But I remember just like meditating with this plant and for like a month straight, and it
Wow.
started to get better. And I still have her.
Oh. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. And
Would you
she's
like
living
touch her when you would meditate? Or put her
oh
in front of you?
in front of me. She'd either be in
Okay.
front of me or I just like visualize her. And that's the
Her.
thing, is
Mm-hmm.
like, you don't have to physically have the plant in front of you to have a connection or create a relationship with it. Like, it's you don't have to have that. Like, plants come to you when you're open, and when you're open to receive it. So in that plant spirit class, we were working with literally just like the spirits of plants. And so I had one, she had these vials where they were like flower essences, essentially. I don't know if you've heard of flower essences, but
Yeah.
there were a couple. She had like ghost pipe and like a couple. I can't remember all of them, but she had a few. And I remember that she didn't tell us what they each were. She was just like, if you're drawn to one, be drawn to it. And immediately, like, there was one that I was drawn to. I was like, okay, I don't know what this is. What is it? And I remember meditating with it and sitting with it and being in that plant spirit class and having just like a full heart open, like heart chakra, just like, okay, what is this? And it turned out to be San Pedro Wachuma. And I think the class, now that I remember, it was back in 2016 is when I did this class. Because in 2018, yeah, my timeline is weird. 2017 is when I did the class, but in 2018, I ended up going to Peru, and with no intentions of sitting with San Pedro, no intentions of doing Wachuma with like a shaman. No, like, that was not the plan, right? And my favorite teacher in the world, like, who I did this training with, he's just so wonderful. I remember him being like asking these medicine men and women, it's a family, and they had come to do a very beautiful like ceremony for us of like singing and dancing. Yeah, he was like, do you by chance do any sort of like plant medicine? Would you be willing to guide us, through a plant medicine journey and take us up to Machu Picchu? And I was like, no. And I'm like,
That's wild.
full circle, this plant has just found me. Like, it's just found me, and here I am. And I'm like, needless to say, like, that I could start crying right now, because that is the that is like the journey that really like changed my life, like, forever. It's something that I'll, but like, there's a lot of people that experience, I think, with plant medicine, and they do a lot of ceremonies. They're trying
Definitely.
to figure it out, and um, the integration piece of plant medicine is like the most vital and important part of any journey, any plant that you work with, because you get so much out of it, right? So many
Yeah.
things, so many like, okay, stop doing this and do this. Like I would get those insights of like, if you want to become successful, then this is what you need to do. Not just from talking to the plant. But if you don't integrate those things, then you find yourself just like chasing. It's just like, okay, I'm going to keep hitting this wall. This lesson is going to keep coming back to me until I integrate it. And yeah, that's what was happening to me. Because I could hear it so strongly, like San Pedro, and just like sitting with it and being just like heart open and knowing that, okay, like this is what I need to eliminate to move forward in my life. But it took me years to do that, so I didn't need like hundreds of plant medicine ceremonies to like tell me what was wrong with me or like what I needed to work on. Like this one, I mean, I still get messages from it, and this was 6 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, that ceremony changed my life, and I really didn't know. I had no idea I would be working with psilocybin in this capacity and getting to sit with people. I'm so emotional right now. Like I'm trying not to cry. Like,
girl,
so
welcome.
emotional.
Welcome. Let it out.
Yeah, like I genuinely had no idea that I would be sitting in this like space of getting to sit with people and witness people just like have these breakthroughs. And it's one of the most beautiful things, and it's a gift to be able to do it. Like it's such a gift. And yeah, my heart is so in it. It's just like so in it. And it's beautiful being like a guide and a facilitator and getting to be in those spaces and chat with people that are even interested in it. And like for me, it's very much, okay, there's you and I, but there's also the medicine of the mushroom, right? And so it's like this conversation between the three of us, and the mushroom is going to let you know if I'm not the right guide for you. The mushroom is going to let me know if you are not the right person for me to like sit with you through this, because maybe there's somebody who's more aligned with where you're at and in your life, and that would be a better fit for you to go through this journey through, because it can be like an 8-hour journey. It's not like a short thing. Not a short thing.
So could you walk us through, wait, first of all, in Peru, did you do the ceremony for them?
In Peru, I was a part of the ceremony with the shaman.
Okay.
Yeah. So we like started at 6:30 in the morning. He led us up to this really beautiful waterfall, and we ended that at Machu Picchu and cracked wide open. And
wow.
it was like it was one of those experiences that you'll just never forget. And I think singing, I don't know if you sing a lot, but singing for me has like found its way back into my life so much more. And I think I had a little bit of resistance for it because of the church, right? Because I was going to church like 3 or 4 times a week. Like that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But the only part of church that I remember really like loving was the singing.
The music. Yeah.
The music. It was like, why is this lifting my body so much? It's so good. And I'm finding that again, like I'm finding this relationship to music again, and seeing like songs that are just so uplifting and making my own up, and just,
Ah,
it doesn't
I love
take a
it.
lot, to like be able to
Yeah.
sing and put together a song that makes you kind of feel like back in your heart and grounded.
Mhm.
So that's found its
I
way to
love
me
that.
again.
Yay.
Yeah.
So what a creative energy. And again, that's like throat chakra, like vibration through your whole body. It's like dancing, I just think it's that feminine flow that we can easily cut ourselves off of, like, well, it doesn't sound good, or people don't want to hear that, or blah 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 blah. And this isn't for other people.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's not. And I've been doing like a women's circle, and I make everybody sing. I don't make them sing. Like, you don't have
Yeah.
to sing if you don't want to, but I'm like, just
Sing to
watch,
me.
like sing and see how you feel.
Yeah.
I feel like it's people's favorite part of it all, because
Listen.
it unlocks your throat, but it also unlocks your solar plexus, right?
Listen.
That like, it's like this invitation to not be silent.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
because we hold and we bottle so much stuff in, that it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, when I sing, it doesn't matter how I sound. This is just an expression. This is a way to get it out, like dancing, or like
Yeah.
yoga, or like stretching, or hike, whatever it is. It's just an outlet.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
people singing together, it's kind of like that communal fire. It's like getting to sit around a fire, and it's getting
Yeah.
to experience, these higher vibrations of love, and sitting in that space with people feels, especially when you talk about really hard stuff,
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, let's go deep, let's get there, let's talk about real things.
Yeah.
And to being able to like come back and sing with everybody after like having that, like,
Ugh.
so I mean, some of these women's circles, they've just been like, we're just crying, like, and that
Crying.
sets the
Yeah.
energy. It's just like, okay, here we are. We all needed to cry. We all needed to
Yeah.
cry today, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's so many outlets, I feel like, that have just like helped me kind of process and move things like out of my
Yeah.
body that don't need to be there anymore.
Yes. For well, what's so interesting, because I think, in my beliefs, like, we're souls that, like, hey, I really want to come down to earth and like be in a body and feel pain, feel joy, feel all the things. And when you're talking about singing, it's that human experience again, that it's like, why aren't we doing all the things that our body can do, right? Like, why aren't we unlocking the feeling, the vibration of that, if we're dancing, if we're singing, if we're yelling, I mean, whatever it is. And so it's just like we're almost like deprogramming. I think there's a lot of like 3D worldly stuff of women,
Yeah.
but also remembering soul a little bit of like, oh no, but we came here to like fucking sing around a circle and like, and heal and cry, like we came here to feel that. So why aren't we allowing all of, even like pleasure in the body, all the things, right? So I think it's just a beautiful reminder of like, yes, do it. Do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
We need those reminders. I mean, we're living, it's like, it can be hard, to remind yourself to be like we were saying earlier, play. Like, play is the most, this word play has just been like coming back to me like over and over and over. And it's like, to get through your life, you have to remember to play. You have to remember that, like, that, not take things seriously, right?
Yeah.
Because we're here in these bodies. It's really weird. Like, what are we even doing? No one has the answers to anything.
Oh,
like,
no.
Like, I mean, that's what we all have in common. Like, no one has
hanging
answers
out
to literally anything.
Yes.
And we're hanging out in these weird ass bodies. And we're trying to figure it out. And yeah, it's just
and
like,
it's so much better when we try to figure it out together. I think that rhymes, but but I think especially in the women's circles, like it just is so healing and a reminder, I think, of how powerful we can be
Well,
together and how healing we can be for each other.
yeah. Yeah, and I
Mm,
think that's what we need because I mean, life is just it's so short. Like it
yeah.
is. It's like a blink of an eye. And I think to some extent, we all want, not, I won't speak for us all, but I mean, so many of us think that we're going to live till we're 80, 90, hopefully past
Mhm.
100, just like, I mean, I do. I want to
Yeah.
live like at 100 and I still want to be like doing yoga and my sun salutations and all these
Yeah.
things.
I
Yeah.
love it.
But like we have these expectations. It's like, okay, I got plenty of time. I think I'll make it there. I'll
Right.
do this later. You put it off and you put
Mm,
it off and you put it off. And it's just like, what if you don't put it off? Like what
mhm,
if you don't put it off and that's the thing that gets you through, you know?
mhm.
Like what I found is that, I mean, like I'm a firm believer in magic. I actually think it's completely real. I think that our society kind of has framed magic to be something that's like, I don't know what the word is for it, but that's just like not what it is. Right?
Yeah.
Magic, I really believe is just like it's consistently there. And
Mhm,
you don't have to look really hard for it. It's just
mhm,
there. And I think when you start doing things for yourself that make you happy and bring you joy and have this playful spirit, I don't, for me, I've always found like things have always just kind of interwoven and taken me to the next place. Like I haven't had to try so
mhm,
hard. Now,
mhm,
when I do it the opposite way and I'm like, okay, I'm like business first, I'm going to like form my life around my business. I'm going to form my life around making sure that I have enough money and that like I don't want
mhm.
this big house and I want all the if I form my life around that, like these things that don't exist in my life, then I'm like stressed all the time,
Yeah.
right? But what does exist right now? My
Mhm,
voice exists. I can move. I can
mhm.
dance. I can breathe. I can take a spontaneous trip, which I am right now, and go backpacking. Like these are things that I can do that bring my life joy.
Yeah, and sometimes we get pulled
Mm.
out of that too, and it's just, I mean, what you were saying before we recorded, or maybe it was recording, I can't remember. But the flow, like, of like, how do when you get pulled in a certain direction and it's like it's too far to the left, how do we flow
Mm.
back to find some sort of middle ground? Because you cannot have joy without pain. You cannot have, you know, they complete each
Mhm.
other, right? And so we're always trying to find this in betweenness. And some days are harder than others, and some days are easier than others. And yeah, it's so. Tell me about if you could walk me through like an exact, not an exact, but like an experience of working with you and being in a circle, like what's like the first step? Do you have a conversation with someone? What
Yeah.
are they working on? Because I want to do
Specifically
it.
specific. Oh yeah, let's talk.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah, so typically, I mean, it's getting to know the person first. So
Mhm.
it's like I do like 30 minutes just like of discovery with them, kind of just see, okay, who are you? I just want to know who you
Mhm.
are and why are you here? What's drawing you to me? Because a lot of the times, like someone's coming to me and I'm like, okay, you're drawn to this. Um, so tell me more. Like, what's your life? Where are you at right
Mhm.
now? Um, and a lot of people are coming, for healing, for ailments,
Mhm.
and some of it is physical, some of it is emotional, some of it's psychological, some of it's spiritual. I
Mhm.
mean, it's just a lot of people are coming just because they have an internal wound that modern day medicine isn't. isn't helping, and talk therapy isn't helping, and then some of it is just for higher enlightenment. Like, I want to know what's on the other side.
Yeah.
And I just feel safer having someone there with me through it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, so it's just like that conversation, and we kind of just see if we fit. And I enter that like really intuitively, because it's, I'm not for everybody, and everyone's not for me. And so like there's this, if I feel like they would be better fit with somebody else, then I would send them somewhere else. And then it's, where we do like a couple of prep sessions. So a lot of the times it's like 1 to 3. It just depends on where the person's at. And these conversations really just are about what's happening, like present day, like what's going on in your life. What past things are still kind of showing up for you now. I mean, we get into it all. Like,
yeah.
And you have to, because when you're in a 6 to 8 hour session of a ceremony, you better expect it to come out. Like something is gonna come out, and a lot of the times it's not what you think it is, And so yeah, I mean, then that leads us to the ceremony, and we're there for 6 to 8 hours together.
Is it one-on-one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one-on-one, and we do groups as well. So you can have like group ceremony setting is a lot different. Because you're with other people, and you're going through everything that you're going through, and you have to be kind of willing to be in a very vulnerable space, and a very trusting space. And groups are incredible too in their own ways. It's totally different. I mean, I think it's completely different. I've done both, and it's just, I feel like one-on-ones, you're really going because you're like, okay, let me put headphones on. Like, so a lot of the times people want eye mask on, headphones, and they just want to go into the music. They just want to go to the depths. And yeah, so it's very different for both. And yeah, I think the whole process for me, I think one of the most important parts of just the ceremony is the ceremony itself. And when I actually did like my training for like the state of Oregon, because I wanted to be a facilitator above ground also. Like,
yeah,
I think and that was a hard decision, because I went back and forth with it a lot. I was like, I could just do this underground, and yeah, I think now I just do both and kind of navigate the space. But there are so many people that, like, if you think, like, would not have access or wouldn't even feel safe doing this underground. And so I really believe that we still need facilitators and guides that are willing to take the ceremonial aspect and the intentional aspect into the place of service centers around the state of Oregon. Because if we don't have that, it's gonna lose like the magic, of it all. And so as much ritual as I can bring in, and intention as I can bring into that space, to make sure that person knows that they're entering into a vortex. Like, this isn't just like you are working with a plant medicine that is very much alive. And like, it just goes back to, like, you can start having a relationship with this plant before you even ingest her or it.
Yeah.
It's very androgynous. Plants are so androgynous. Like, they're her and him, they're like all the things.
Yeah.
But it's just like, yeah, I have a very honest conversation with the plant before you even sit with it and get an answer. And so that's kind of my approach when I tell people, when I have a conversation with them. I'm like, well, go meditate with the plant, see what comes up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that as well.
Uh-huh.
And what's so crazy, you want to hear the craziest thing?
Yeah.
Every single, it's so wild. Every single medicine ceremony that I have sat in with somebody, the night before, I dream about it.
Wow.
It's already there. It's like I dream about it. I dream about like being with them. It's so wild. And I feel like it's because like every single person, like especially the week of and the week before, it's like we're creating this container together. It's really like we're really in it. And it's so important for me to be like very grounded and in my body before that day as well, because a lot can come up. And so, yeah, I mean,
wow, that's wild.
it's
What do you do
wild.
for dosage? Does everybody get a different dose, or
yeah,
how does
definitely. It's not like a one, like, let's all,
okay.
we're just going to give you the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on like a lot of things. It depends on if it's if it's the person's first time, like it depends if they're on SSRIs. I mean, like there's so many different there's so many different things that kind of change like what the dosage is. And you know, usually I'm very like, I'm not going to put somebody on like the highest dose of psilocybin if it's their first time. I'm going to start like not very low. I'm going to start with a pretty significant dose to like get you to a point where like you probably are going to feel it, but then there's always an opportunity or an option to go deeper if you want to.
Okay. During that session or ceremony.
During that session, like you could go deeper and like we could give you more.
Okay.
It's very rare that I have somebody say, okay, like I want more, because it's rare because it's enough. And that dosing too is very much about sitting down with the mushroom, which I do every time, and I meditate with them, and I just ask, like, what is the appropriate dosage for this person, and I get an answer. And a lot of the times that day, or like within that space when I'm talking to who I'm with, like if they're having different feelings or if they're in a different headspace, like that doses can change that day. So you kind of just be open to it, you know. You just like, you're open to what it may be.
Yeah. And are you, so it can last 6 to 8 hours typically?
Yeah, I mean, the journey itself, if you're gonna do like 25, I'd say like 25 to 30 milligrams just in that psilocybin. Yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna last at least like 6 hours, give or take. But you can feel it. Sometimes you can feel it in your body past 8 hours. And I even can feel it the next day. So I'm like, and it's not like you're like tripping and you're like having an experience, but it stays in you. And so I always tell people, like, the next day, like, do as little as you can in terms of like needing to be in work or having a lot to do, getting on a plane, like all the things. Like, be in nature as much as you can, journal, write, meditate, breathe, stretch, take a walk, like whatever it is that you like to do, but like be in that space as much as you can. Because like I said, the integration piece starts right when your journey ends. And so that, I feel like the next 24 to 48 hours are so vital to just like, because some people will have intense experiences and like feel like they need to change everything. Like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this. This feels, and when that happens, you know, it's like, making a decision based on your journey within like that week can be really intense. And so I'm like, just sit with it, you know, just sit with it, see, before making like any sort of rash decisions. And like, uprooting your life, quitting your job, you know, like breaking up with your partner. Don't do any, like,
Yeah, yeah.
don't do any of that because you might want to, right? But like, because you're like, I mean, a lot of these times people are like, whoa, I know the answers to life, you know, whoa, everything I'm doing
Yeah.
is meaningless. That is like such a, that's like one of the most,
Ahead.
that's like the thing that people come out. They're like, what is the point of everything? That's
Yeah.
like the number one thing that I get from people. What is the point? Right? And then that's when it can get either really really playful and kind of experiential, and you're like, okay, like where do I go from here? You know, you're in that state of inquiry and curiosity when you're like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But also there's the flip side of what's the point is like depression and anxiety, and like I don't want to go back to the way that my life is because it's not making me happy.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, integration and like having sessions with people afterwards is like the end part of that, you know, making sure that I'm connecting with them and seeing them. And I offer like posts, like more integration sessions if it's needed. And it's not like therapy. Like this isn't therapy. This is, I'm not licensed. I'm not a licensed therapist. So like just to get that clear. So it's more of like it's like a non-directive approach, you know. It's giving people the space to just explore what they experienced and asking them questions, you know, like what does that mean to you? You know, it's about their inner intelligence and their inner teacher more than anything, more than mine. Like I have to kind of take myself out of that, you know, because what they're experiencing for them is very real. And not interweaving, you know, and giving my 2 cents a lot of the times in that space. So
yeah. Well, do people do it more than once?
Do they do it more than once?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely. I already have a woman. I just sat with a woman like, I don't know, like a week or 2 ago, and we just had our integration call, and she was just like, okay, so in January, I'm thinking that's enough time. Like, I think I want to do another journey. She went through a lot. But she learned a lot through this session, and she deep crying, like all the things the entire time. But like now I think that she feels comfortable and she knows what it offers, what happens. She's like, there's a lot of other questions that now, like, that I've experienced, that sadness that I needed to go through. Now I know, like, what I want to go in for next time. Like, now I know.
Yeah.
And so, and I tell people, give, like, time between each sessions. Like, you don't want to do them back to back. You don't want to do it every month. Like, that's, I mean, you can if you want. A lot of people do that. But I find it hard in my life. Like, it's a relationship, like I said. So you got to nurture that relationship and like remember that the mushroom is there and that it's there to help you and guide you. But you don't want to abuse it.
Yeah.
You know, like anything in life, like you find this beautiful balance.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's, you know, anything in spirituality or religion, like sometimes when you have like an insane experience, it can be like, I want to chase that high again, you know, like
definitely.
When you're back in your meat suit and the world is happening, you're like, get me back there, please.
It feels so good. Yeah, totally. And people have these heightened experiences where they're just like, yes, like I love everything. I love everybody. I just want to give everyone hugs. I'm so happy. Like, let's do the thing. But that wears off. And that's the most real thing I can tell people is just, I had a woman the other day, they're like, I'm just scared it's going to wear off. And I'm like, it will.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a one-time fix-all solution. Now, can it rewire your brain? Yes, absolutely. Can it open new pathways in your brain and in like your way of thinking? Absolutely, 100%, 100% it can. And it's about like how strong, like strong-willed are you? Like how strong are you to remember those things and learn how to bring them into your everyday life? You
Right.
know, if your
Right.
message was be more patient, have more compassion, then the next time someone like does something to you that just like rivets you and you're like, what the fuck?
Uh-huh.
Like, are you remembering, hey, Birdie, do you remember like it's not in your control, you know?
Yeah.
Everything that you do in your life is not in your control. And so like have a little bit more patience because you don't know what that person's going through. And so
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
it's learning how to pause in those moments of rage and anger and even
Yeah.
sadness or like wanting to just like get mad at your partner. It's just like, no, wait a second.
Yeah.
I got tools. I
Yeah.
got tools. I'm like calling the mushroom for a moment. I'm gonna call my coffee bean plant.
Yeah. Seriously. But it is so important that again, the balance, the flow, the integration of it all, because it will pull us in so many different directions.
Yeah.
Or in opposite directions, I would say. And again, I think sometimes that we will do that. We will
Yeah.
go over here. We will go over there. And it's all about coming back to semi-balance, and then it's never 50-50. It's just this,
Yeah.
again, that flow of back
It's
and
just
forth.
the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the flow and knowing that it's never going to be truly always 100% balanced. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah. It would
the
be
50
boring. That would be so boring.
would be boring, you know? It would be boring. I actually, this is funny, talking about like 50-50 balance, just in like my partnership. I heard this
Ugh.
from, I can't remember where I heard this from. I have no idea. But have you ever heard like the phrase, like you have to find somebody that gives you like 50-50. You're giving 50 and they're giving 50 so you can meet,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's true because
Mm-hmm.
it's like there are days when you're only going to be able to give 30%.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go through something, your heart is broken, emotionally drained, our hormones are wild. Like, there are
Mm-hmm.
days that, like, it is okay that you're going to give 30% because you got a partner that is willing to give their 20%. So they're giving
Yeah.
60% and they're meeting you to that space, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just life, right? It's like some days you're going to get 50-50 and it's going to feel like on. Other days it's going to be 80-20 and then it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
60-40. And that very much feels real, right? And
Yeah.
it's just like if you're having a bad day, like what can I do to like uplift you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, let
Yeah.
me pour my love into this. And it's okay that you're
Yeah.
having a bad day. So
Yeah.
maybe if we just approach the world like that, right? Within
I love that. I
why are
got
they only
30% today, world.
here I am. I need you to give me 70. Come on.
Yes.
Where are my people? Like literally though. And maybe if we're just
Yeah.
honest, it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, guys, like I'm about to teach this yoga class. I want to
Mm-hmm.
tell you it's gonna be 100%, but my brain is everywhere and I might mess some things up today. So yeah, just give me grace,
Yeah.
laugh at me, like
Exactly.
laugh with me, like yeah.
Because we're rolling. Yep. We're just
We're
doing it. We're
rolling.
here.
We're doing it.
Oh, Birdie, thank you so much for coming on and connecting. I love connecting with you and just hearing your story. And I'm like so excited to do a ceremony with you.
Yes.
Can you
I'm
tell
excited.
people just again your offers and then where they can find you? And we'll put it in the show
Yeah.
notes too.
Yeah, for sure. So psilocybin journeys can find me on Instagram at interwoven rituals and
Mm.
then interwovenrituals.com. Those are for my medicine journeys, group journeys, anything like that. If you're wanting to practice yoga with me or meditation, I also offer private sessions. I do retreats as well. I have
Yay.
one coming up in Peru. So next year, 2025.
Oh my
That's on
gosh.
the calendar in August. Yeah.
What
So
kind of retreat is it?
yoga, meditation, and plant medicine.
Okay.
So
The triple threat.
the
Yes.
triple threat. I told
I
myself
love
I was
it.
going to go back to Peru, and we're doing it. So
Cool.
that can be found on my Instagram is Journey of a Birdie. That's how it
Uh,
sounds. And
I love
then
it.
my website's journeyofabirdy.com. So you can find me
Okay.
there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll put that in the show notes. And anything else that you wanted to say? Sorry, I think I cut you off.
No, it's okay. No, just like thank you. Like thanks for
Hmm.
I don't know, thanks for your trust and your intuition and reaching out to me and just I don't know, having a conversation because that's very much what it felt like. Just like getting to
Yeah.
chat with you, and it was just so nice getting to know you as well and being in this space.
Thank you. And thank you for that because I showed up not myself today. So, well, I did, but a part I usually don't like other people to see. So I appreciate your space in
good.
that. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. We'll see you soon.
Thanks again, you guys, for coming in, tuning in each week. We really, really appreciate you. And if you want to leave us a review on Apple Podcast, we'd appreciate that too. Thank you. We'll see you next time.